There is a specific genre of video dominating the algorithm right now. You've likely seen it. It opens with a close-up of a woman in her car, the sanctuary of the modern breakdown. She is weeping because she had to take a feverish child to the doctor alone. Scroll down, and you find another. A woman sobbing into her phone camera because the mathematics of groceries and daycare no longer add up. A third creates a montage of her anxiety because a pipe burst in her apartment, and she simply does not know who to call. These are not isolated incidents or rare anomalies. They are a pervasive cultural symptom. We are witnessing a collective awakening, a brutal realization hitting modern women. Real life is indifferent to your fantasy of independence. Let's dissect why so many women today seem to structurally collapse when faced with standard adult responsibilities. From a psychological perspective, we are looking at a massive dissonance between expectation and reality. The pattern is almost algorithmic in its predictability. A woman leaves a stable situation, a marriage, a committed relationship, convinced that life will be easier, more vibrant, and more authentic, without the perceived burden of commitment. Perhaps she divorces a decent, stable man because she feels unfulfilled. Perhaps she chooses the dopamine rush of the party lifestyle over the slow burn of building a legacy. She believes she is stepping into freedom, but then the adrenaline fades and reality, cold, logical, and relentless, sets in. Suddenly, she is making TikToks about how impossibly hard existence has become. I watched this precise psychological arc play out with an acquaintance. She left her husband a good man, a stable provider, an involved father because she felt trapped and needed to find herself. This is what Jungians might call chasing the puer aeternus, the eternal child who refuses to be bound by earthly limits. 6 months later, the self she found was exhausted. She is posting videos detailing her fatigue. The car needs a transmission fix. She lacks the knowledge or the network to handle it. The child is vomiting at 2 a.m. She is the only set of hands available. The bills are stacking up like a monument to her poor planning. That freedom she craved? When you strip away the romanticism, it looks a lot like drowning. The responsibilities that break people are rarely the grand, cinematic tragedies. They are the grinding, mundane tasks that seem simple only when someone else is silently carrying the other end of the load. It is grocery shopping with 3 children when one is in sensory overload. It is moving heavy furniture alone. It is negotiating with mechanics and contractors who sense your desperation. It is being physically ill but having to function at 100% capacity because there is no backup generator. To the prepared adult, these are not crises, they are merely Tuesday. But without a support system, Tuesday becomes an insurmountable mountain. This brings us to the independence burden, a concept rarely discussed with honesty. You want total independence? That is a valid choice. But understand what the contract entails. It means that when you are running a fever of 102, you are still the chef, the nurse, and the cleaner. When you are emotionally depleted from a toxic work environment, there is no partner to tag in for the bedtime routine. Independence is not just the freedom to do what you want, it is the obligation to carry everything you have. A client of mine shared a sobering story about his ex-wife's confrontation with this reality. She initiated the divorce, moved out with the children, and projected an image of thriving girl boss energy. 3 months in, the facade cracked. She called him in the middle of the night, hyperventilating. The basement had flooded. She didn't know where the water main shutoff was. The children were terrified, feeding off her panic. He had to drive over at midnight to fix a pipe, while she sobbed about the cruelty of her life, the same life she had demanded. Many single mothers struggle not because the world is uniquely cruel to them, but because they prioritize the thrill of freedom over the discipline of partnership. They chose the excitement of the fun guy over the utility of the stable guy. They wanted the Instagram aesthetic, not the gritty reality of infrastructure. Now, they are navigating parenthood alone, often with fathers who have checked out, but they externalize the blame. This brings us to the modern phenomenon of performative vulnerability. The current emotional culture is, frankly, pathological. Every struggle is converted into content. Can't make rent, film a crying video. Child acting out? Broadcast your breakdown. Overwhelmed by the basics of survival? Post a tearful monologue about the systemic oppression of womanhood. Psychologically, this is a regression. They have learned that public displays of distress trigger a dopamine hit of attention, sympathy, and sometimes financial support. But this validation loop is dangerous because it doesn't solve the problem. It rewards the complaint. I saw a video recently of a woman weeping because childcare costs nearly as much as her salary. It is a valid economic pressure, certainly, but do you know who else faces this equation? Single fathers, yet the behavioral response is radically different. Men generally internalize the stress and externalize the solution. They work nights, they leverage family, they cut costs. They do not set up a tripod to film their tears. What these women drastically underestimate is the invisible structure men provide. It isn't just about the paycheck, it is the psychological container. Men often provide the discipline, the consistency and rules, and the willingness to be the bad guy to enforce boundaries. Without this masculine structure, the household often descends into entropy. Children run wild because the mother is too exhausted to hold the line or too desperate for their approval to enforce consequences. A teacher friend confirmed this pattern to me. She notes that children from single-mother homes, specifically where the father is absent, often arrive at school in a state of dysregulation. They are tired, hungry, and unprepared. It is not that the mother doesn't love them, it is that she is cognitively overloaded. She cannot maintain the architecture of a home alone. The children suffer academically and emotionally. Yet, pointing out this structural deficit is labeled as shaming. So we pretend the emperor is fully clothed. These women desire a paradox. They want male-style commitment without offering male-style loyalty. They want a man to step in as a father figure, to fix the chaos, to provide the stability of a concrete foundation, but they refuse to commit to the architect. They want the benefits of a husband without the duties of a wife. They want the utility of male investment without the reciprocity of female support. And then, in a display of profound lack of self-awareness, they are shocked when men refuse to sign this contract. The situation is exacerbated by emotional oversensitivity. Modern women have been conditioned to believe that their internal emotional state is the ultimate truth, that if they feel bad, a wrong has been committed. Consequently, every frustration metastasizes into a crisis. Every challenge is reframed as trauma. Every normal pressure of adult existence becomes unbearable suffering. They become so fixated on their feelings that they lose the capacity to focus on the task. I witnessed a woman have a total meltdown at a tire shop because a repair would take 2 hours instead of 1. She was crying, calling friends, posting about the disaster online. It was an hour of high-octane drama over a minor inconvenience. A man in that same chair? He would have opened his laptop, grabbed a coffee, and handled emails. The emotional energy she incinerated in that hour could have solved 3 legitimate problems. Instead, it created a 4th one. This is the tragedy of the modern emotional landscape. We are drowning in feelings while starving for competence. The collapse of personal stability is rarely a singular, cataclysmic event. It is almost always a slow erosion caused by the compounding interest of poor habits. When we look closely at the lives of those who claim to be perpetually overwhelmed, we see a distinct psychological baseline. They are living entirely in reaction mode. Reaction mode is a state of chronic stress where one lacks the foresight to plan, resulting in a life spent extinguishing fires that were started by neglect. Consider the financial chaos. There is no budget, so money is always a sudden crisis. There is no discipline, so health becomes an urgent issue. There is no routine, so every morning is a scramble. They live in a state of high cortisol panic, convinced they are victims of circumstance, when in reality, they are victims of their own lack of structure. I know a woman who fits this profile perfectly. She complains relentlessly about being broke and a victim of the economy. Yet, I have observed her spending habits. $200 on acrylic nails and hair treatments, $100 on DoorDash delivery fees in a single week, and impulse purchases of clothing she does not need. Then, inevitability arrives. Rent is due on the 1st of the month. Suddenly, it is a crisis. She needs a loan. She needs sympathy. She cries that being a single mother is impossibly hard. Psychologically, this is not a resource problem. It is a regulation problem. She is bad with money and expects the community to subsidize her lack of impulse control. This reveals a profound accountability allergy. In her narrative, the locus of control is entirely external. Everything is someone else's fault. The ex who won't help, whom she pushed away. The job that doesn't pay enough, which she chose. The family that won't babysit, whom she alienated. The government that won't provide more support, which already subsidizes her existence. In this worldview, everyone is failing her, except the one person who could actually fix it, her. The true tragedy, however, is not the woman's stress. It is the collateral damage inflicted on the children. These children are paying the price for their mother's journey of self-discovery. They are dealing with mothers who are stressed, overwhelmed, and emotionally labile. They experience inconsistent discipline, a rotating cast of male figures, and profound financial instability. We are seeing a generation of children growing up in chaos and being gaslit into believing this is normal. I see these children in my practice. The clinical term is parentification. This occurs when the roles are reversed. The child is forced to sacrifice their needs to take care of the emotional or practical needs of the parent. I see the 8-year-old boy who has become his mother's emotional support animal, listening to her complain about men. I see the 10-year-old girl who is effectively raising her younger siblings because mom is too overwhelmed to function. They are robbed of childhood because their mother cannot handle adulthood. This instability is fueled by an epidemic of family abandonment. Women are walking away from functioning marriages at unprecedented rates. It is crucial to distinguish here. We are not talking about leaving situations of abuse or severe neglect. We are talking about leaving because of feelings. I'm not happy. I need to find myself. I deserve better. They are trading the concrete stability of a family unit for a fantasy of self-actualization, only to discover that the fantasy does not pay the mortgage or raise resilient children. The statistics are damning and consistent. 70% of divorces are initiated by women. When you look at college-educated couples, that number jumps to 90%. These women are not escaping dungeons. They are leaving good enough situations that simply stopped feeling exciting. They trade a functional family for Instagram freedom, and then wonder why the infrastructure of their lives collapses. Meanwhile, let us look at the other side of the equation. Men facing these exact same struggles receive zero sympathy. Consider a single father working 2 jobs to pay child support and his own rent. Society's reaction? Silence. Consider the man struggling to maintain a bond with his children while paying for a lifestyle he no longer lives in. The response? He should man up. The same society that coddles struggling women completely ignores struggling men. The double standard is breathtaking in its hypocrisy. A woman posts about being overwhelmed, and she receives thousands of supportive comments, offers of Venmo, and validation. A man posts the same sentiment, he is labeled weak, pathetic, or a whiner who needs to handle his business. We have created a culture where female struggle is currency, and male struggle is shame. This dynamic creates a distorted marketplace of relationships. Modern women often want the benefits of a traditional man without the commitment of a traditional woman. They want someone to fix the car, kill the spider, carry the heavy boxes, and pay for the dinner, but do not dare expect domesticity, loyalty, or respect in return. They want a servant, not a partner. I know a woman who regularly calls her ex-husband for help. She needs him to fix the sink, mow the lawn, and pick up the kids when she is overwhelmed. He steps up, hoping to rebuild the family. But when he suggests getting back together, her response is, "I need my independence." She literally wants him to perform the duties of a husband while she retains the freedom to date other men. The entitlement is staggering. She views his masculinity as a utility to be harvested, not a gift to be cherished. This behavior is reinforced by a society that rewards emotional expression over accountability. The woman crying on social media gets resources. The woman quietly handling her business gets nothing. So, purely from a behavioral conditioning standpoint, which behavior is being reinforced? The public breakdown has become a strategy. It is no longer genuine emotion, it is a survival mechanism for the unprepared. We must address the root cause of this fragility. It is not a lack of inherent potential, it is a preparation gap. There is a distinct divergence in how we socialize children. Generally speaking, boys are raised with the understanding that they will eventually have to become useful. They learn to fix, build, solve, and endure discomfort. They are socialized into what psychologists call competence hierarchies. Girls, conversely, are often raised with a message of inherent sufficiency. You are perfect just as you are. They are not taught resilience, mechanical problem solving, or emotional regulation under pressure. Then, real life arrives. And real life does not care that you were told you were a princess. A perfect example of this is a car breakdown. When a man's car dies, his brain typically engages a procedural checklist. Check the battery, look under the hood, call AAA, arrange a tow. It is a logistical problem to be solved. When a modern woman's car breaks down, It often triggers complete psychological deregulation. There is panic, there are tears. She calls everyone in her contacts list. She posts about her trauma. But she does no actual problem solving. Why? Because nobody taught her the mechanics of resilience. She is waiting for a rescue that independence explicitly promised she wouldn't need. This lack of resilience manifests as extreme emotional fragility, particularly regarding feedback. If you tell a modern woman she needs to improve a specific skill, she often collapses. She cannot distinguish between helpful, corrective feedback and a personal, existential attack. Because she was raised on affirmation rather than achievement, criticism feels like abuse. I once managed a female employee who wept every time I offered constructive coaching. This wasn't harsh shouting, it was basic performance review. This report needs more data. Please proofread this section. She would retreat to the bathroom in tears. Eventually, I stopped giving feedback entirely. Her performance stagnated, and she was eventually let go. Naturally, she blamed the toxic work environment. She never understood that her inability to metabolize criticism was the architect of her failure. This fragility is compounded by unrealistic expectations. Modern women have been sold a sanitized Instagram version of adulthood. They believe independent life should be aesthetically pleasing, emotionally fulfilling, and perpetually fun. When they encounter the actual texture of adulthood, which is often boring, repetitive, and physically exhausting, they cannot cope. They look at social media highlight reels and suffer from relative deprivation. Why is her life so easy? Why is mine so hard? They fail to realize that everyone is struggling. Some people just have the dignity not to broadcast it. This leads to what I call the collapse pattern. It is a predictable 5-stage psychological descent. 1. The freedom phase. I don't need anyone. I am liberated. 2. The reality phase. This is harder and more expensive than I calculated. 3. The panic phase. I cannot do this alone. I am drowning. 4. The victim phase. Why won't anyone help me? The system is broken. 5. The blame phase. This is everyone's fault but mine. The tragedy is that this collapse is not about capability. It is about expectation. If these women were taught that life is a contact sport, that pain is inevitable, and that nobody is coming to save them, they would develop the muscle to handle it. But they were conditioned for comfort, not combat. Perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect of this phenomenon is the regret. I have seen women throw away objectively fantastic lives because they were chasing a feeling. They leave decent men who loved them. They dismantle stable homes. They disrupt support systems because they wanted more, better, or different. They bought the lie that they deserve it all, and they ended up with nothing but struggle. I recall a client's ex-wife who fits this archetype perfectly. She had the American dream package, a beautiful home, a loving husband, healthy children, and no requirement to work. She left because she wasn't fulfilled. She needed to find her passion. Today, she lives in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment, works a grinding retail job, and her children are visibly struggling. She posts constantly about the hardships of single motherhood. She had it all, held it in her hands, and threw it into the fire for a fantasy. The impact of removing the male structure from a household cannot be overstated. We often discuss fathers as providers, but we ignore their role as regulators. When the father is removed, the household dynamic shifts. The mother often tries to compensate by becoming a friend rather than a parent. Discipline transforms into negotiation. Rules devolve into suggestions. The natural authority that a father brings, often not through force, but through sheer presence, vanishes. I have watched this transformation in real time. Strong, capable women who maintained immaculate homes while married suddenly cannot keep basic order when alone. It is not that they became less capable. It is that they lost the structural support that made their competence possible. It is like removing a load-bearing wall from a house and then wondering why the roof is sagging. This creates a delusional expectation in the dating market. These women want men to show up with the traditional toolkit provider, protector, disciplinarian, but they offer none of the traditional respect or authority that accompanied those roles. They want the utility of masculinity while denying its value. Men are waking up to this transaction. They are realizing it is a bad deal. The children observing this dynamic are learning the wrong lessons. Boys learn that men are disposable utilities, expected to serve without appreciation. Girls learn that struggle is a form of social currency, that accountability is optional, and that emotions are a valid excuse for failure. We are literally programming the next generation for dysfunction. The male response is increasingly rational. Withdrawal. Why commit to someone who will not reciprocate? Why build a life with someone who views your presence as optional, but your resources as mandatory? Why invest in a partner who collapses at the first sign of rain? Men are checking out, and honestly, from a game theory perspective, it is the only logical move. This hurts the competent women, too. The genuinely resilient women, the ones who handle their business, own their choices, and solve their problems, are now swimming in a dating pool poisoned by the reputation of the incompetent. Men approach them with suspicion, waiting for the other shoe to drop. The functional women are paying the tax for the dysfunctional ones. The reality is relentless. It does not pause for your mental health day. The bills do not care about your trauma. The empty refrigerator does not care about your empowerment narrative. The solution begins with a painful, honest conversation about reality. Life is hard, independence has a cost, and feelings are not facts. Until modern women accept these axioms, they will continue to shatter against the rocks of reality. They will continue to cry into their cameras, wondering why the world is so cruel, while refusing to pick up the tools to build a shelter. The women who escape this cycle of collapse do so not by finding a savior, but by undergoing a radical psychological shift. They move from an external locus of control to an internal locus of control. They stop waiting for rescue and start solving problems. They stop broadcasting their struggle for sympathy and start building strength in silence. They stop blaming the economy, the ex-husband, or the patriarchy, and start taking extreme ownership of their outcomes. And suddenly, almost mysteriously, their lives stabilize. I have witnessed this transformation clinically. Women who hit absolute rock bottom realize that the victim strategy yielded zero returns. They developed discipline. They embraced routine. Their finances improved, their children's anxiety decreased, and their stress levels dropped. Not because life got objectively easier, the bills were still there, but because they got stronger. But let's be honest, most will not make this shift. They are too invested in the narrative of oppression, too comfortable with the dopamine hit of online sympathy, and too afraid of the weight of accountability. The contrast with previous generations is the most damning evidence against the modern narrative. Consider your grandmother. She likely raised 4, 5, or 6 children. She did not have a dishwasher, a Roomba, Amazon Prime delivery, or an iPad to babysit the toddlers. She dealt with genuine physical hardship, economic depressions, wars, manual labor without complaint. Compare that to the modern woman who claims she is breaking under the weight of one child and a laptop job. You have every technological convenience ever invented. You have machines that wash your clothes, machines that wash your dishes, and apps that bring food to your door. Let's call this what it is: the comfort crisis. You are not physically exhausted. You are emotionally atrophied. The daily responsibilities that break the modern psyche, packing lunches, school drop-offs, working a job, making dinner, are laughably basic. This is standard adult functioning that billions of humans manage daily without a public meltdown. But because we have removed the struggle from daily life, our threshold for stress has lowered to the floor. We have mistaken inconvenience for oppression. Men need to understand this dynamic to protect their own futures. There is a dangerous rescue fantasy that many men harbor. You see a woman crying about how hard her life is, and your biological instinct is to step in, fix the tire, pay the bill, and save the damsel. Do not do it. The woman who is falling apart over basic adulting will not magically become competent just because you enter her life. You cannot save someone from their own refusal to grow. If you step in, you do not become a partner. You become a crutch. You enable the very dysfunction that is destroying her. The competent women, and they are out there, need to distance themselves from this narrative. By remaining silent, you allow the most dysfunctional voices to define your gender. You need to start calling out the difference between genuine hardship and self-manufactured drama. The children deserve better than mothers who treat motherhood like a burden to be survived, rather than a role to be mastered. They deserve stability, structure, and competent caregiving. They do not deserve to be content for a TikTok breakdown. They do not deserve to watch their primary caregiver collapse under the weight of normal life. The harsh truth is that modern women are struggling because they were never prepared for reality. They do not expect it, and they refuse to accept it. They are waiting for life to bend to their feelings, rather than bending their will to meet life. They manufacture drama to feel alive. They create chaos to solicit pity. They complain about stress that is largely self-inflicted. A peaceful life is available to anyone who chooses discipline over drama. But peace does not generate likes, and it does not attract attention. So, they choose chaos. The solution is simple, but it requires swallowing a bitter pill. We must admit that traditional structures had value, that discipline is the highest form of self-love, that feelings are poor masters, that independence is a luxury that must be paid for with resilience. That partnership requires reciprocation. The men who understand this are already adjusting their expectations. The fantasy of the partner in crime is being replaced by a rigorous screening for competence. Smart men are demanding proof of capability. They are refusing to subsidize dysfunction. The cycle will continue until reality forces a correction. Natural selection does not care about your feelings. It does not care about your viral video. It rewards only one thing: adaptation. The truth that modern women cannot handle isn't that life is hard. It is that they are soft, not physically, but spiritually and mentally. They have been protected from consequence, shielded from difficulty, and validated in their weakness. Now, the walls are down, and reality is flooding in. Those who accept this will build the lives they want. Those who don't will keep crying into the void, wondering why the world won't stop to comfort them. I want to hear from you. Have you seen this collapse in real time? Have you watched someone trade stability for a fantasy, only to drown in the reality of independence? Share your observations below. Let's document the reality that everyone sees, but nobody is supposed to talk about.